Welcome to MITCHOY Chats, Episode 7, starring me, Michael J. Foy, and my co-host,
Frank Cornelius Mitchell.
And tonight we have a special guest.
Hell yeah.
Introduce yourself, special guest.
My name is Michael D. Hart.
Nice. Good use of initial. So, tonight we're going to be discussing The Fifth Element.
Hell
which,
yeah.
Frank thought of that one. So, Frank, why don't you give us a little introduction?
Oh my goodness.
Or should we have Mike tell him something about himself before we start?
You know what?
Might be a good idea.
Why don't we start
We've been here for 6 episodes already.
I was going to say, they already know who we are.
I just thought of that.
We're old friends. But, they don't know a little bit about who Mike Hart is. So, Mike Hart, why don't you tell the folks at home a little bit about yourself?
Well, what can I say? My name is Mike. I am a Hart, and I have 4 nearly identical brothers who are various ages, older and younger than me. I mainly work in carpentry, and, times are tough, and sometimes I work, sometimes I don't. In my spare time, I try to have fun, and this seemed like a very good way to have some
Party time.
We're glad you think of us as being a lot of fun.
All right. Well, first off, if you don't know what the Fifth Element is, I don't know what fucking planet you're living on. No pun intended. But basically the story goes, and this is from Internet Movie Database, 250 years into the future, life as we know it is threatened by the arrival of evil. Only the Fifth Element could stop the evil from extinguishing life, as it tries to do every 5,000 years. She, the Fifth Element, is assisted by a former elite commando turned cab driver, Corbin Dallas, who's played by Bruce Willis, who is in turn helped by Prince Arsenio clone Ruby Rhod. Unfortunately, evil is being assisted by Mr. Zorg, played by Gary Oldman, who seeks to profit from the chaos that evil will bring.
Those sons of bitches.
Oh yes,
they do fuck a lot of shit up.
They do. Who are they? They are the
Oh, I forget what they're called.
Mondoshiwan.
Yeah, the Mondoshiwan. That's right, the Mondoshiwans. I keep thinking they're the no, wait, the
bad guys.
Yeah.
Those are the faces.
Aren't those the good guys? Aren't those the good guys that look like ducks in the beginning? The robots. Those are the Mondoshiwan.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
I'm trying to think what
Mangalores.
Yeah, the Mangalores.
Yes.
That's right.
Mangalores.
Shows you how much we know about this movie. Ha ha!
Just sometimes you just forget. Like I just forget random stuff about this movie for some reason.
No, like
this movie's just so awesome though. It's like I always come back to it.
I haven't personally watched this movie in preparation for this chat, but I feel like I've seen it enough in my childhood to know about it. But one thing I recently discovered was that this movie has a lot of similarities to Star Wars, and before you say, oh, it's in space, yeah, I get it, thank you. What I'm talking about is the way it was conceived and the way it was executed. Luc Besson, or Luc Besson, however you want to say it, I'm going to say Luc Besson at the risk of sounding like a douchebag. Luc Besson wrote a 400-page story outline, apparently while he was still in high school. And it was obviously too long to make as a feature film, so he wrote this particular screenplay for The Fifth Element for only its first chunk of the story. And what actually happened was after the movie was released, there was a year where there was talks of a sequel for The Fifth Element called Mr. Shadow,
which you just informed me about earlier, which I didn't know about, and I find to be really intriguing because I wonder where you could go with that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, I mean, I feel like at the end, like, evil was vanquished. This happens only once every 5,000 years. So, like, what's the play now? Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, evil wasn't destroyed completely because if it happens every 5,000 years, and the Fifth Element has to take care of it, then, like, it clearly has to go somewhere to grow. Maybe Zorg found a way to get him out of it, or get the evil out of it so it can come back, or something like that.
Zorg's dead, though.
Oh, true, he is dead. He blew up.
He is dead, but the evil is the large. If you haven't seen it, dick. But
no, you don't.
If you've seen
these people better have seen these movies.
There's a conduit for the evil to talk to and use and act out his abilities. That conduit has been destroyed, so every 5,000 years he gains his strength again, and then he's able to come back. So if you were to make a sequel, maybe somebody channeled this evil, even though he's not strong enough yet, but he lays the groundwork for the stages for his next arrival to pass.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think that would be perfect.
It'd be very interesting.
Or not perfect. I think, that's
Yeah,
but at least very interesting to see play out.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have a villain that would outdo what Gary Oldman did. He did. So he's such an amazing character because he's so like serious but horribly goofy in a sense,
Yes,
and
which
he's
I-
like, it's so like it's such an interesting performance.
Definitely.
And I like how he's got that weird like plastic thing on his head.
Yeah, right.
Like what the hell, man?
There was
really
a lot
got
of
it, but-
there were a lot of odd costume choices that I
And
was
then
just
there's,
like, I'm going
chocolate
with it. Yeah.
syrup dripping down his head. Like,
Yeah,
is that
it was.
supposed to be blood?
It looked like a really dark sort of blood. It looked like
was really
almost like
weird.
something was secreting from his head.
Yeah.
That's a pass to the. I don't. There's a certain religion that says you communicate to spirits in the other realm through a third eye, which is located where the formation of your skull. You have 3 distinctive plates. You have this part, and the crown.
Which,
and where
just
they
so you
all
know,
meet.
Mike just touched his face a lot.
For the radio viewers at home,
I did. And they all meet in the forehead area, center-ish, maybe higher, maybe lower, and that's in a spiritual sense considered your third eye, and you can channel other realms through that location. That's what I think was a reference to that.
No, I mean, that would make sense.
it was
He's
so-
obviously like touching him from beyond and inflicting, saying like, if you don't do this, I'm going to kill you. I
Yes.
Uh-huh.
The whole experience was just so profound that he physically reacted from it.
mean, good description, Mike. All right, so it was Frank. You had some ideas and questions and things.
Well, one question. This is about a very specific moment in the movie in which Zorg is approached by a worker of his, or a handyman, or hitman, or henchman, whatever you want to call it, a goon of sorts. And he basically alerts Zorg to the fact that the government has requested Zorg to fire a number of employees, specifically to slow economic growth. That is very interesting because you're also showing the president, who has an interest to save the world / save lives / protect his country. So to show the president who cares about his country, coupled with the government requesting something like this to slow economic growth, I feel like that's a bad thing. And my question is what do you think that says about the government in the future? Like, there's not very much around it. Like, do you think everyone's unified in this future world, or is there still chaos and war? Like,
I don't know. It's an interesting question, but when you look at the population boom, look at what that world is, man. That world's terrible. It's just like it's a total mess, and it's clear that there's some pollution or something around on the bottom. They obviously
Yeah, they had to
there's
literally
like a smog down
like,
there.
exactly,
They literally
like-
build up.
like there's so much air traffic going on. Like there are literally cars, like air cars, going through like lanes of traffic above lanes of traffic.
Yep.
So it's like even in that world, there's still traffic.
Yep.
There's still bullshit. Like, yeah,
It just makes it very real.
and like the lower levels of the city are literally covered in smog and whatever that is. Which like they don't even really mention what that is. I like.
No, they make some reference to it to being like some sort of a smog or a pollution, but you're right. They don't say anything really further about it. He says like, "Oh, we entered the smog." Bruce Willis says that when they drive down. He says, "We got to hide in it." But
I feel like that's another thing. Like I feel like there are lots of comments that they make on society that aren't blatant, but like even in the airport with the garbage everywhere.
yeah,
That's not explained, but they're like, or no, it is they're on strike or something.
Yep.
But again,
Yeah.
there's that dissent between the orders and the people who want things, like the people who want things done and the people who have to get them done.
It seems to me like New Jersey times a million. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Well, it is supposed to be New York City, basally. So
Close
it's-
enough. It's
Exactly.
like-
Exactly.
They got garbage problems now. Imagine it in 300 years.
It'd be an utter disaster is what it's going to be.
Realistically,
Unfortunately, see, that's what's going on now. That's all the whole debate is about. Is what the hell are we going to do with the future? And all these people just don't want to like. I'm not like I'm really very much in the middle because I'm really not crazy one way or the other because the ones who are on the far ends of this are really nuts. Like it's really out there. But I mean, there's certain things that they're just practical. They're just practical,
Yes.
and they're just do it. Just shut the fuck up about it and just do it. Why are you debating? Why are you talking about it? Like there's no there's no question to this. I understand everyone's different, but like there are certain things we can just come together on. Like we need to find a better solution to fucking energy. We need to find a better solution to fucking garbage shit. We need to find a better, we need to accept, birth control and all that kind of crap. Because there's so many people fighting against all of this. It's like, you know what? We have to make sure that we can control our own population. We're trying to control every other population in the world.
Yep. What we need is we need a unified set of guidelines to follow, basically. Like in things of like, this is how we'll take care of garbage. This is how we'll take care of this. This is how we'll like look at some of these problems. And I feel like that's what they're trying to do, but that's just not what's happening. It's a lot of dissent and a lot of nonsense just to solve simple problems.
If I could continue this point, if you look back at the greatest civilizations, Greeks, Romans, for example, those two in particular, children at newborn birth were inspected, and if they didn't, if they were seen to have visible deformities and everything, they were disposed of. It's a harsh reality, but unfortunately, that's how they did it, and these are some of the most revered civilizations yet.
Well, it's just it's a tough thing because it almost kind of goes into like the genetic debate about controlling like birth defects and stuff like that, because it's a form of population control, and people are I feel like it's kind of like a weird double-edged sword in a way, because everyone wants to get over these problems. Everyone wants these things to be cured and to be taken care of, whatever. But then I heard this debate about it when they were like, well, we can detect downs at a certain thing, whatever, and there's people get like abortions because of that, and it's like it's a way of stopping in a sense stopping the spread of it and making it worse. But you have these people who are like, they're like so against like getting rid of it, because they're like, well, they have to be proud to have downs and all this other stuff, and it's like, it's good for the people who already have it, but I thought you wanted to
exactly
cure it.
That is exactly the point.
Yeah.
They're trying to make it okay, and by us saying we want to get rid of it, we're saying basically that it's not okay to have it.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
And that's not
people
what I'm
are taking
saying.
it personally,
Yeah.
and not for anything, but they have to realize that it's something that like we're trying to work against.
It's a genetic disorder. It's something that is a defect, basically.
Exactly. It's something you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And even they can't deny that it's something they deal with. Even though it is their daily life, they deal with it. Would they rather have it? No, they wouldn't. They would rather get rid of it. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know where the dissent really comes in here. It's more about, well, if you say that this is taken away or this is getting eradicated, then that means that if I have it, that means that it's not okay. And that's, like, I can see the point of what they're feeling, but I don't know how to say it nicely, but you see the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to me that the movie didn't address any of those issues.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting that it showed them.
Yes, exactly.
It just
all of
showed
it,
them.
Yeah.
They weren't
and
addressed.
That's
they
what
were
makes
still
the movie
there.
so good, I think.
It was still,
It's that subtlety of it. It's like,
within this world, this is what's happening.
it was a realistic portrayal of the future, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because humans are humans, and we are who we are, and 300 years really isn't going to change too much.
No.
We're gonna find more advanced ways to waste our time.
Yes.
All right. So, what's your favorite performance in the film?
Oh my. As much as she has like played this role in like every movie she's in of the confused foreigner, even if she's not meaning to, I say Milla Jovovich takes it as Lilu. I mean, I love the comedic bits. Like, there's a lot of slapstick in it, which I think is really funny.
I love the chicken. Good.
Chicken. Good.
That was funny.
And even that, like with the food, when she just pours a thing in, puts it in, like 2 seconds, pulls it out full chicken.
Couple of pills.
Exactly. Yep. I'm like, that's awesome. But in any case, I feel like
her would last me a week.
Her being this like badass that's been caged up and doesn't really know about the planet that she's saving, or it has been like alive. We don't know if she's been conscious, but she's obviously been alive. I would think, or if she was dead.
Well, she was killed and then reanimated.
Yeah, but even
destroyed.
Exactly. But
word.
even something like she was a statue.
Yeah.
Remember, like she was in the statue, so it's like, was she dead, or was that like Mike? Tell me, the expert of the movie.
I would really have to say the statue was just a physical representation of what they needed to show their priests. So I don't think necessarily that she was in that statue. That was just a piece. It was a prop.
But then when the reanimation comes into play, they say they have a piece of the statue, and that's what they put in to build it, like to rebuild her.
No, they actually had a hand holding the missing handle on the case. If you'll see when Zorg has the case, when
there's no
the
handle on it.
Mangalores go, there's a handle missing. And if you go and you look at the item they're carrying, it is an armored hand holding a handle.
Yeah, but isn't she still the thing, though? She was
Well,
just
no, I
holding
mean,
it.
you saw their crazy suits, you know. But basically, at the end of the day, it was human DNA, just many more strands, you know, the perfect being, you know, everything we are, and then some.
Yeah, but I feel like
And a lot more, to be honest with you.
I feel like the way it was positioned and the way it was built, like, and then when they have that hand, I feel like something happens. So there's a piece missing somewhere, because like she has to be something, you know, like she can't like she didn't come from nothing, and I feel like there's human DNA in there, and it's tightly wound DNA, but still, like, where did it come from? What being did it come from? Was it something that was made? Was it something that was engineered? If it was something that was engineered, was it still human at one time or another, or something like that, or taking a humanoid form? Like, it's all a question that, again, like, they don't really address too much, but it is the vehicle that gets to bring Milla Jovovich to the screen as the fifth element, being a living, breathing creature.
My own personal opinion is she's the platform for everything.
For the power. So, again, it's like the sort
She's
of
the
conduit
channel for
thing.
the power.
She's the channel for the power. She's also the basis of our existence. She's everything wrapped into one.
Oh, okay. So she is like the basically like the representation of the best that Earth has to offer.
She is the blueprints of our people.
Like what human beings can achieve, basically, like what they can do physically, what they can do emotionally if they choose to, things like that. Okay, I can get on board with that. So it's basically like it's almost like it's a mantle that is put upon you, not necessarily a one particular being.
Right. Yes. Actually, I don't know whether to call it a cult or a religion or what, but my brother had actually pulled up something. I had happened to walk through the living room when he was watching a particular video, and they were talking about this particular group. I'll have to do for the research and let one of you know so we can clear this up. But basically, they believe that the human race was placed here by
I've heard that before.
A human race that has more chromosomes and more DNA and more everything else, and we are a modified, subtracted genetic structure of their existence.
Why?
Couldn't tell you. They all know that stuff. But that's, in a nutshell, what they believe.
So it's like either are they making us, or are they like, or
It's
are we like the defects?
Right. Who knows? I mean, are we the trash dumped on this planet? I mean, I don't know, but it's something I've heard.
No, I have heard that before. I've heard that as, you know, an idea that, you know, we were like, you know, sort of just dropped here and not, you know, homegrown, as it were. But I don't know. I don't know what's to believe, but I don't know. But me personally, I think we probably were just here. I think we just grew from here. That's just my own. To me it makes more sense. But I mean, obviously could be
Right,
wrong.
if you look at the scale of evolution throughout the years and the millions of years it took, so all of a sudden, boom, apes are walking.
Yeah, but I mean, it's sudden. But they have proven that, you know, certain bits of evolution happen extremely quickly sometimes due to, you know, radically different circumstances.
You said doo-doo.
Oh, due to. Sorry.
No, you said it properly. I just heard something different.
Oh,
because
okay.
I'm 14 years old. My problem with evolution is that I feel like there's a great sense of ego throughout the human race. It's always a question of, why are we here? Why are we doing this? What do we need to do? How could we save ourselves? there's always this very heavy ego throughout all of our ideas, and the only reason I don't like evolution is because it asks the question, where can we find parts of us in the past? Where we have to be somewhere because we're human, we're everything. You know, I feel like it's just a very egotistical center. So when you look at something like that, it's like, where do we come from? Where are we? Oh, we found a little piece of something that we have in another being. We must have come from that being, or we must have been a lesser form, and now we're this. I feel like you're kind of building the ramp, but you don't know where you're going. And I like, but then again, I understand and agree with like the scientific fact, like that it does look like, or the scientific theory, I should say, that it does look probable that that's what's going on, due to all the scientific minds. Like, these are the best minds we have. Like, what do I have to say against them? But that's my feeling, is that it's like it's very ego centered. It's very again trying to find ourselves and everything instead of just letting that be what it is.
I can see what you're getting at. Did we ever really answer the favorite performance question?
I said Milla Jovovich.
Oh, that was the whole Milla Jovovich answer. That's what that.
Well, then we started talking about
sweet.
Well, we started talking about supreme beings, and it went from there.
We did. So, Mike.
Man, there is a place in my heart for this movie. I got to tell you that right now. So this is kind of a difficult question for me because I've grown to love every character in the movie in a different way at different times. And I would have to say the priest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ian Holm.
Yes, Ian Holm's portrayal of the priest, just how he starts off as this knowledgeable guy, so sure of himself, and then when it's in his face, he's like,
Yeah,
he stutters so much, and he's just like, he's a nervous wreck.
It's literally
just like
being faced with your faith.
He doesn't know what to
absolutely.
do.
Your faith is in your face. I'm sure he went around and questioned his faith and was like, "That's not gonna happen." You know, I'm gonna whatever. You know, he's got this little key thing. It's a freaking 4-piece, like 4-leaf clover for all purposes. You know, and then he's faced with it, and he's like, "Oh shit."
Well, I think that you may be painting a picture of the priest as like he doesn't believe, like, because he does.
I don't mean to. If I did,
like, because he stands up at the there's a I don't know if it's a press conference or whatever it is, but the president is about to do something to the evil, quote unquote, that's at the edge of a certain solar system. And Ian Holm, the priest, is the first one to step up and say, "I have a different theory to offer you. You might not want to do that."
Right.
And he explains what is going on. You know, and as the audience member, you might be a little like skeptical, or as the president, he's definitely skeptical. But as the audience member, you're kind of like, I think he knows what he's talking about because he's dressed in robes and he's
He's speaking shrewdly. He's not. So he's not excited.
He does believe, but when all of a sudden he's just thrust into it and he's faced with it, he's like, holy shit! Like, and, he does what he has to do, but it's very there's again a lot of slapstick. I feel like there's a lot of fun stuff that happens, like just in terms of physical comedy with the priest and with everybody. Everyone has their little bit of physical comedy in it, but
it's just those little moments where he's second guessing everything. Like, this is really happening. This is really happening, and those are the moments when I feel that you see him stuttering, and that was just very, very human to me.
Mike Foy, who do you feel gave the best performance in your opinion?
I'd have to say, and this could be stereotypical, but I'd have to go with Chris Tucker.
Yeah,
he just makes me laugh every time that I watch it. Every single time, it's just so absurd, and he just hams it up, and he just plays it to a T.
Does.
And there's so many memorable lines, and he's just got this attitude through this whole experience, like,
why is this happening to me?
He just, oh
Not
my
why
God,
is this happening
this is
to
so
everybody?
horrible. And,
why is this happening to me?
And
Ruby Rod.
This whole thing. Yeah. So I just can't get enough of that.
My favorite Ruby Rod moment, I'm sorry, is the part where he's holding that gun against the Mangalore's head, and Bruce Willis has to reach into the diva to get the stones out, and he's like, he's like, Bruce Willis gets him down, and he holds the gun on the back of his neck. He's like, I said 1 minute, and then he gets Ron. He's like, Ruby, come here. He's like, you put your hand on this gun. If you move, shoot him.
Yeah, and
he's like shaking with the gun. He's like, I don't feel right. I don't feel right, Corbin.
Corbin, my man.
And all of a sudden,
I don't know. If he moves, if he breathes, I don't know.
I never held a gun before.
Oh my God!
I ain't never held a gun before. I don't feel right. I don't feel right. So, and all of a sudden, it starts getting very quiet. And Bruce Willis takes out the stone. He goes, Ruby. And in that second, he just freaks and pulls the trigger. He goes, ah! Sorry.
Yeah, and he's like,
and then he turns to him and
touching
goes,
the head.
You think he's gonna be okay?
Oh my God.
You think he's gonna be okay? So many great parts with him.
Yeah, there's some really funny stuff. Yeah, so I'd say I loved his performance the best.
We got to talk about Bruce Willis's tiny dick.
Yeah, Frank, explain this point.
Before we get there, I need to applaud the three of us for not saying Bruce Willis was the best actor in this fucking movie.
Oh, fucking A. It's because he's played this movie in fucking 80... He's
not
played
that
this
he's a
movie
bad
80
actor,
different times.
But
he's played the same character 80 times. This could have been, as Mike said, Die Hard 4 in the future.
To me, yeah, I should have said this from the get-go. This is the real Die Hard 4 in space, in the future. I mean, it's just totally ridiculous. So I would have to say I do feel that way. But yeah, no, I don't think his performance was the best throughout the film. You know, he's just typical Bruce Willis. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Cookie cutter. You're
good.
getting what you pay for.
Yep. Yeah.
Designated, double.
squinty
Designated
eyes,
double.
a hard stare, shoot somebody.
And whisper.
Pretty much. That pretty much covers his entire career.
To a degree, I mean,
To a degree.
except for
To
the
a
story
degree.
of us.
Honestly, except Die Hard 1.
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
that when he's walking on glass and later on he's picking the glass out of his feet.
Yeah.
Can't say I've seen another movie do that, but
Yeah, I felt
Yeah,
that
is true.
that was a point raised in The Office that I saw. Actually, it was an episode of
it?
The Office where Michael Scott says, "The thing about Die Hard is," and he goes into it, and you're expecting him to say some dumb shit, and he says this, and I'm like, "Oh my God, Michael Scott!" He says, in Die Hard 1, he's just a regular cop, run-of-the-mill guy. Like, he's got the glass in his feet. Shit happens to him.
Yeah.
Die Hard 4, he's fucking driving a car into a helicopter and, like, surviving. Like, all this wild shit. It's like, he becomes a superhero, you know?
He's
It's
super cop of the day, man.
Yeah, it's like he's super cop. Like, and, in the first one, he was almost like the problem was there and he had to try to deal with it. And every time he tried to deal with it, it wouldn't go his way. And that's the thing. He said it perfectly in the first one. He's like, I'm the monkey in the wrench. I'm the pain in the ass.
Yep.
In part 4, he's not that. He's the hard-nosed cop who goes in and takes shit down. He's not the guy who's, like, solving the problem, you know?
Well, that's what he's turned into now. Now he's just like a cocky douchebag.
Yeah, it's like, and that's what's fucked. And that's what pisses me off, because even in the fourth one, like, there is that scene between him and Justin Long where he says, like, you don't want to be the one who, does this shit.
Yeah.
And he explains why. He's like, because, your wife won't want to deal with you. Your kids don't want to talk to you. No one wants to be your friend, but, like, yeah, you're the hero who got to have your, like, 10 minutes of fame or 15 minutes of fame doing this. Like, I felt for his character in that moment. I felt for the character of John McClane through all 4 Die Hards. But then, again, the movie wasn't as good as Die Hard 1, 2, or 3, so I was just like, whatever.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. And, I think the first and the third ones were the best in that series.
Definitely. I really enjoyed the third one.
I still happen to like the second one. I think but the fourth one's definitely my least favorite.
Because I think part 2 and 3 were both adapted scripts.
I know the third one definitely was, and the second one probably. That would make sense. But I know that for a fact that the third one was originally a script called Simon Says, and it had the same basic premise.
In any case, cookie cutter Bruce Willis ain't cutting it for this guy anymore. All right, that's what I'm saying. I feel like he needs to do something, freshen the look, do something. Do something, Bruce Willis.
that being said, I really appreciated his role in that, I believe it was Disney movie, The Kid.
Oh, yeah.
That was something different
from
him.
I liked the role of North when he played the Easter Bunny. Oh, yes, friends. Easter Bunny costume,
What?
Bruce Willis. You
What?
take a look. You take a look.
That's horrible.
It's like Howard the Duck.
Oh my God, Howard the Duck.
Damn.
Greatest movie ever. We're
Been
getting
on
way
a lot.
off track
That's
here.
been on a lot lately, though. Jeez.
Fucking A.
Well, we don't have Bruce Willis tirade, so these things happen.
Exactly. Bruce Willis is a dirty son of a bitch. I'm kidding. He was wonderful.
So, anyway, Fifth Element.
One of the things I was mentioning before was that there are parallels to Star Wars in that it was a movie that was created from a longer story that the filmmaker had in place beforehand. And in this particular situation, I don't think it was intended for like a 2 or 3 part movie or a 3-part story arc or anything like that, which personally, like, I kind of respect to an extent, because they're clear that there's obviously a story. He only made the Fifth Element from the first chunk of this story, but there's still more in the story of, I think, Corbin Dallas, or just in general that world.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, like, I respect. I don't know if it was an integrity move or if they didn't have a writer or whatever the problem was, but I want to look at it as an integrity move, just to say, like, you had a chance to make a sequel to a movie that did well at the box office and does well critically, and it's a cult following now.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, like, you would think, like, I shudder to think in 5-10 years when they're either going to do the remake or the sequel or something like that, like, which we don't need to see, but
Yep.
you're going to have those mixed feelings about, just like other sequels that have come out or we're waiting to come out, and we know they're not going to be as good as the original.
Yep.
But we want to see them anyway.
Especially the longer they wait like that, too.
Well, it's
If
true.
I can
Makes
just
it
say
worse.
right now, I'm already a sucker.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna see it.
No. That's the thing. And that's where we're all bullshit. Like, when they put out new Star Wars DVDs, everyone bitches about how, it's fucked up. You added one new scene.
I'm happy to say that I did not buy any of that stuff.
Exactly.
I bought them once on DVD to have it on DVD.
That's exactly
That's
it. They're re-releasing them, and every
Not
time they say,
dipping here.
It's
beyond that. But.
Exactly. They're saying, like, he's a fucking asshole for, like, doing that, and that's fucked up, and I'm not going to buy it. Every one of them goes out and buys it. So, like, don't say you're not going to do it if you don't do it.
The man is a marketing genius.
He's a piece of shit is what he is. He's been making money off the same one idea for 30, 40 years.
That's
like,
why he's a marketing genius.
No, that's just,
he hasn't pushed the fucking envelope.
the motherfucker. No one remembers that son of a bitch made Howard the Duck. All right, you watch Howard the Duck, and you tell me that the same man made Star Wars. Like, it not happening. Not true. Don't believe it for a second. The man had one good idea. He blew one good load in the 70s, and that was it.
And he's rich off of it.
I hope he fucking dies in a fucking fiery car wreck and his fucking fat, disgusting body burns to the seat.
Need to clear up. I'm playing devil's advocate here. I do not agree with anything I just said.
Yeah, fucking asshole. I'm cutting that out.
No, what is that?
I'm just breaking balls. But again, also more similarities to Star Wars. Goes to space in certain events. Takes place with someone who is a little hesitant to get into this adventure. Hero's journey sort of a thing. Gets the woman at the end. Pretty much, most of the same tropes that Star Wars goes through. But again, done in an entertaining fashion. It's different enough that you can enjoy it without having to think of Star Wars. There was a review I heard that was that they said it's the Star Wars of this generation, or Star Wars for a new generation. I don't know how I feel about that, but I definitely feel like Fifth Element will kick your ass to the wall.
I think it does. I think it's got a nice action-packedness to it. I mean, no, I think the movie's the movie's got a lot of action.
Definitely,
got a good kick to it.
Plain as day.
I disagree with that because this movie had a final ending. Whether you wanted to spin a sequel off of it in a later year, you could. But this movie that we're talking about had a final ending.
It was self-contained.
Yes, it was a self-contained
Very much
movie.
so.
Had a beginning, had a middle, it had an end. Mm-hmm. It's not an epic. It wasn't meant to be an epic, as was Star Wars. You start off Episode 4, and it ends with a question. That's not, you know something's coming at that point. Mm-hmm. It was designed for it. I have to say specifically because he knew he wanted to do at least 2 more.
Yeah.
And, this one, I calling it the Star Wars of our generation, that's a great compliment, but I think it's very out of place.
Would you say in a positive way or a negative way?
Giving us comparing us to such fantastic achievement is fantastic. But, I mean, damn, reel it in a little bit, you know?
So that could be some hyperbole more than actually what's there.
Yeah, somebody wanted to say something that got noticed, is what I feel that comment was. You know, I don't really think it holds true. It could, if they were to make a sequel of it, but they didn't. It's now, 15 years later, and there's nothing? I think it's safe to say this is a singular movie.
Oh,
well,
not necessarily.
it's not
The
necessarily
Godfather
with,
3 was
with
made...
with the horrible way things are done today. It's about, let's remakes, or let's do prequels and sequels, and let's do this and that, and there's 10 million things.
What was it, Lost Boys?
Yeah, they've done now 2 of them.
Yeah.
And
so
they're both terrible.
They are not scared of making a sequel. But, I feel like...
Not saying it couldn't happen, but...
It's just, you don't want it to, and there's no reason to, but the real reason is just that the cash will always be there. And that's the most fucked up part, is that, even if you write a story that is close-ended, well, even something like, when you take a movie, have you ever seen Paranormal Activity?
I did.
Did you see Paranormal Activity 2?
I did.
What did you think of that being a sequel? Because the first one is pretty final. If you were to watch part 1, I would not imagine a way that could be sequelized.
But there was references.
Oh, no, but no. Well, there was references, but the whole thing was part 1 was written as a self-contained movie, and then part 2 was written after it. So to make it as interesting and as well made as it was for a sequel, and to add, there was a lot of tension about it, and what it did was, what a true sequel does is it adds to the first one without taking from the first one.
Right.
In the sense of, taking away or making the first one less or something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Stick with what you have and build on top
Exactly.
of it. Right?
Build on it. Don't take it or change it. You know, that's what George Lucas did in episode 1 of Star Wars when he said the midi-chlorians are what give you the Force. That single line destroyed my childhood dreams forever of becoming a Jedi, ever in life. But in any case...
Let's not forget that all of a sudden, Obi-Wan's master changed.
Oh yeah, out of nowhere.
Come on.
What was the original name that they said?
Well, the original name... what originally happened was Obi-Wan's master was Yoda.
Okay.
Always. And in part 1, who the fuck is Qui-Gon Jinn? Obi-Wan's master. He's the Padawan.
That's pretty fucked up. I never realized that.
It's so many things that are changed. And Mike Foy,
you're right.
the biggest thing that I want to ask is, if it's earlier in the future, less technology, why is everything better? Why is everything smaller and sleeker?
No, they all got wiped out. Planets got destroyed.
Horseshit. Even from lightsaber perspectives. In part 4, 5, and 6, all those lightsabers, huge. Even Darth Vader, who had access to some of the best technology, still huge hilt of a lightsaber. And even the way they fought samurai double-handed. That's how they fought. There was no spinning, there was no backflips, there's no fucking parkour. It was 2 guys with fucking swords. That was it.
It was also the 1970s.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what no one wants to say. Is that, well, it's because of the 1970s that it was made like that. That's then right there. You can't make 1, 2, and 3 look like it's more technologically advanced, even in that time.
Well, but I mean, at the same time, you could, because I mean, what?
Well, it's
They were
supposed to be
so war-ridden and everything.
Yeah, supposed to be
This was rising out of the rubble.
Yeah, 20 years of the Empire coming around and kicking your ass and fucking shit up and not giving a shit about anything.
Right.
And just doing what they want.
Hoarding all the best stuff for themselves. And, you know.
So I think I can see part of it, but I definitely agree that there are certain things that just don't make sense.
I feel like all of it was just a vehicle for him to be able to use it with the best technology.
That's definitely true.
And that's what bothered me more than anything.
I'll also agree that he definitely, went a little overboard and haywire with his, I have the technology to do all the things I couldn't do when I was then.
Oh, yeah. And that's really the only question I have, is and what the thing is, no one has an answer for that. Or everyone has a bullshit response to it, or at least an answer that I don't feel is a good enough answer, I suppose.
Well, I feel like it's an understandable comparison, but I don't think it really means anything. It's just a general kind of action movie, but it's got some some interesting elements put into it itself. And there's different kinds of genres that are mixed together here that are interesting. it's an action movie, but it's kind of a comedy, but it's kind of like, it's got some dramatic moments, but it's, I don't know. I feel like it's an interesting. I'm not talking like dramatic. What I'm saying is that, there's certainly like this whole impending doom thing, and there's a lot of,
It's simple, grandiose stuff.
It's simple.
At the same time, it's a sci-fi movie. Which
Oh no, exactly. That's
cool.
what I'm saying. I like that it's got the sci-fi element, but it's just got all these different elements to it.
I feel like overall it's the sci-fi action flick, but there is a good amount to balance it with enough comedy to draw in, to kind of lighten the mood a little bit, with enough action to draw people in and get them excited to what's going on, with enough drama and the love story that goes on between Corbin and Lilu that you watch and you want to see unfold, just for their sake. I feel like all of it culminates to just be a really like a fun movie. There's something in it for everyone to enjoy.
You get the slapstick of the priest and his bumbling assistant.
Mm-hmm. And Ruby to an extent. I feel like everyone has
Ruby's
slapstick moments.
Slapstick, or is that just absurdity?
Well, no,
absurdity.
there is absurdity with him, but I feel like there is slapstick with him just in the sense of physical comedy of jumping around and stuff like that.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Even Corbin gets whacked in the head with the cross by the priest.
Yeah.
Like everyone has a little bit of physical comedy in it, and it makes it that much funnier that everyone was kind of in on the joke and having fun.
Yeah, I feel like everyone was definitely just having a good time with it.
I feel like it makes the movie feel balanced.
There's a point that I really wanted to bring up, and I'm going to do it now. The comparison from Fifth Element to Blade Runner, I find, is astounding. It's very similar, and coincidentally, the general who recruits Corbin is actually in the Blade Runner.
Oh, is he? I haven't seen Blade Runner forever.
It's
a movie I really need to see again.
To me, I find it's very similar in its own unique way. Just the fact that it's so future-based and everything.
Well, what else?
I haven't seen it.
I
felt like there was a lot of advertisement. There was a lot of advertisement centralized stuff.
Shitty world.
A lot of
kind
pollution
thing, right?
and a lot of city-based stuff.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of it is very similar. However, I feel that Blade Runner is more dramatically based.
Oh, it is, but I mean, it's just there are similarities in both worlds.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think
it's really cool.
It comes from the way people hold themselves. I feel like they could have been from the same world in that sense, or that these two stories could have been going on in the same world.
Especially the basic portrayal of society's attitude.
Yeah, that as well
is quite similar to this. It's like not too far-fetched from where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
Both movies, I thought, for their respective time periods that they were released, were very similar to. I mean, not much has changed, basically, with the way humans behave. Like he said before, earlier, it's just advancing our laziness,
Mm-hmm. It's pretty much the only
really
reason. It's the only reason we're moving forward is because we want to make it as comfortable as we can. Like we achieved something and now we need a big break. We never need to. We can never be satisfied with our technology. We can never be satisfied with what we have.
I think The Fifth Element and other films like it are a very interesting look at possible futures and things that I think people should take notice of. I understand it's a movie. I understand it's like 300 years in the future, but I mean it's realistic in saying, look, certain things, are going to get friggin' crazy in 300 years.
Not to say that these can happen exactly, but there's clear comments.
But I mean, just looking at that New York City, it's just like, what the fuck?
Look, looking at what's going on, there are clear comments being made that aren't exactly being put on the table, but you can hear them.
Yeah.
Like, there is something going on. There is still dissent with people. There are still strikes. Just because it's the future and there's greater technology doesn't mean that there isn't dissent among people still.
Yeah, it's not a utopia.
Just because aliens are there now that makes it even more like... Now people are probably even more xenophobic than ever, of just more than just, oh my god, you're not from my country, you're not from my planet. That's a whole different ball of wax.
So maybe that's when people start to unite together, maybe.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Or become more enclosed in themselves and shut out more people.
Very true. Well, I think that's going to do it for us here at MITCHOY Chats.
Episode 7. Mike, I'm shocked. Episode 7.
I know, it's friggin' amazing. So, for MITCHOY Chats, I'm Michael J. Foy.
I am Frank Mitchell, and lastly, our special co-host,
Michael D. Hart.
I would like to personally thank Mike Hart for coming on and chatting about this movie with us. 'Cause
Definitely, thank you.
Definitely, I had a lot
It's
of
cool
fun
to have
with it.
somebody else
Thank
here.
you. I very much appreciate the request.
And this has been The Fifth Element.